believe it or not, the lower the levels you can train the dog at, the better. But as far as porch sitting syndrome goes, 80% of your job is actually walking the dog around the property with no zapping at all. So grab your iPad, grab a chair, go to the back corner of the property and sit down with the dog and move your chair along the back so that she knows that this whole patch of grass is safe. Hey, I'm back with Mark and Maggie. We're just about to start the training. I was going to explain to Mark a little bit about porch sitting syndrome. At this stage, Maggie hasn't been trained, and we'll probably be doing some training in a video, but you can see that in another part. Now, as far as porch sitting syndrome goes, it comes down to how the dog is introduced to the radio signal, how they're then trained over the next 3 or 4 days, and also introduced to the rest of the property. And that can come down to the quality of the collar. So Mark's opted to go for the premium collar, which has much lower levels for easier training. So believe it or not, the lower the levels you can train the dog at, the better. What we want to do is give Maggie just a little bit of a tickle at the fence. She's never experienced a little pins and needles sensation like a TENS machine before, so you have to be careful that she responds and gets out of it really quick. Our training is all set down in the guide, but as far as porch sitting syndrome goes, 80% of your job is actually walking the dog around the property with no zapping at all. So if you, what would happen sometimes is that if people didn't do the training, or we had a system once upon a time, we've been doing this for 14 years and we've only had this system running for about 10 years now, and we don't get the porch sitting syndrome problem if people follow the training, whereas before we had a collar that was stuck at one level and it would scare the dog. So people weren't aware of the porch sitting syndrome, or they didn't pay attention to it. And they go, well, the dog got really freaked out, and it's just sitting around the house and it's not going anywhere, which is not good for the dog at all. You need to give it lots of freedom, which is the whole idea behind getting a dog fence. So the dog would sit on the porch, but then 4 or 5 months later, it would go, well, sod this is boring, and then bang, it'd see something across the other side and it would run through. Then you get stuck with a situation where the dog knows there's safety on the other side. So the more conditioning and training you do, the easier it is to solve the problem. Well, you don't get the problem in the first place. If you do get the problem, even with this collar, Mark, if you find that Maggie says, no, don't like this, I don't want to come out and train with you because every time you walk me around the property, I get this really horrible sensation and I'm just going to stay here because I'm really sick of it. That's your cue not to do any more corrections with the collar. Just walk her around the property, make her sure she knows exactly where she can go. And if you end up with a small area, which you haven't got, down the side of the house where you've got a bit of radio signal and you've got a gap for the dog, your first priority is to make sure they're okay walking up and down that area so they're quite comfortable. So to cure it, basically, or during the training, a good training session is just to grab your iPad, grab a chair, go to the back corner of the property and sit down with the dog and move your chair along the back so that she knows that this whole patch of grass is safe and there's no beeping and there's no zapping or shocks from the collar at all until she's quite happy. Now, after 4 or 5 days, you let it go. If you end up with a situation where she does get porch sitting syndrome, that's all I would do. Just keep walking her around the property until she's quite comfortable. Now, the other key is then, because you trained at the low levels, when you let it go, I'll bet you she'll say, oh, Dad's not here, I'm going to go and sneak up to the thing. But that's when you've got the collar on the higher level. That's more to do with the training, but that ends the session on porch sitting syndrome. We're going to do a bit of training with Maggie, so click on the link and grab a quote and fill in the form, and once we've got this all set up, you can see some of the training in action as well. All right. Cheers for now.
Thanks,
Let's
mate.
do some training, mate.
Excellent.
Okay, bye.